All right, welcome everyone to the Healing Power of Plant Foods cooking class. I'm super excited to have you all here tonight. I'm April Ashcroft, and I have been cooking, eating, preparing plants in my meal plan since about 1991, and have learned about the healing power in these foods. They're amazing. I'm going to first start off, just for those of you who are new, to just tell you a little bit about me and where I'm coming from with all of this. I come from a standard American family. We ate the standard American diet, and I've watched all my family members get the standard American diseases: heart disease, diabetes. Both my parents died of cancer. I've got some kidney failures in my family and some strokes. And way back when I was young, living with my grandmother after my mom passed away, I watched her age and deal with the consequences of her diabetes and other issues, and she was in and out of rest homes, and so we'd go visit her, and when I saw not only her suffering, but I saw the suffering of everyone else there, and I think that made a huge impact on me as a young girl, as well as seeing my family go through the experiences that they did. And as I got older and was watching, my dad going to the hospital with bypass surgeries, and my grandparents all dealing with diabetes and taking insulin and pills, and just not having great health, I thought, this is not what I want to do when I get older. I felt very strongly that I could do something about what many would say is my genetic destiny. And so I started kind of just casually looking into healthier ways of eating and living. I loved food, and so I wasn't real willing to make huge changes there, although I grew up on a pretty healthy standard American diet. We ate a lot of whole wheat bread and beans, and we had a garden and all of that kind of thing. And my grandma hardly ever bought junk for us, cookies and things. If anything, it was like black licorice and something else. So I gained a great appreciation for black licorice. In fact, that's one of my weaknesses. But so anyway, as time went on, I just stumbled onto a couple of books. Well, first of all, my health started to go bad in my early 20s. I was constantly on and off diets, and I was exercising a lot. That was kind of going to be my savior, is exercise. I figured that was what I needed to do, and so I got heavily into aerobics and working out, and I learned that I could eat a lot as long as I was working out every day. And it finally caught up with me, though, and I started not feeling very good. My energy was low, my hair was kind of falling out, I wasn't feeling great, and so I went to the doctor, and he went and was going to put me on some thyroid medication, and I felt very strongly when I went up to pick up that medication, I felt very strongly that that wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. That's what I was watching my entire family do, was take pills all the time. And so right about that time, a friend of mine gave me a couple books, John McDougall's The Dougal Plan and Diet for a New America by John Robbins, and I read those, and it promoted a vegetarian diet, and I really didn't want to do that. I didn't feel like it was something, I didn't want to give up my meat, I was pretty much heading that way anyway. I've never been a huge meat eater, but the dairy, I loved cheese, I loved yogurts, I loved ice cream. That was my biggest downfall, was ice cream. And so I was interested in those books and the information there. I thought it was great. Didn't make any major changes, and then I stumbled onto a book called Fit for Life, and that little book just grabbed me, and it taught about a whole food plant-based diet, and encourage the elimination of dairy and to greatly reduce your animal products in general. And so I decided overnight that I was just going to do this, just give it a try for a week or two, and we'll just see how it goes. After a week of eating 100% plants, whole foods, I felt amazing. My energy went from 0 to 10. I never looked back. I just felt so good. I couldn't believe it. And as time went on, I was very alone at this time. I mean, there was no internet. I didn't really know anybody else that did this, but there was somebody that came into town and did a talk, and so I went to it, and it was all about this plant-based diet thing, and I met a gal there, and we got to be really good friends. We started doing little potlucks together, and she knew some people, and so our little group grew, and then her and I decided to start teaching through community education. It was actually her idea. She was going to do some classes, and she asked me to come and join her, and so I did, and that's kind of where I started doing cooking classes. And it was so fun because people were coming, and they were sharing their experiences, and they were all kind of like my experiences, although a lot of these people were older and had been able to get off their diabetes medication and their cholesterol pills. And so that was so exciting and so motivating. And when she decided she didn't want to want to do the classes anymore, I carried on and did them myself, and I created Health for Life Cooking. And I've worked for the Bridge Recovery Center and the Kitchen Corner, Bosch Kitchen Center, and I've just done classes for different groups around, and I'm excited to be here with community education again. That's where I started years ago, and then I got away from that, and now I'm back, and been back for quite a few years. So, and I love it. The more I learn about the healing power in plant foods, the more I know that this is what our body really needs. We have the ability to have the best health that we can. We have the ability to have optimal health, to be free from sickness and disease. And it's not about reducing our risk of disease when I'm 80 or when I'm 70. It's about today. It's about feeling great and having lots and lots of energy today, and staying out of the hospital, staying out of the doctor's office, and staying off all the pills, or getting off the pills. I've seen a lot of people get off their medications, and that's what I encourage people to do, to just, pump up on all those plant-rich foods. And I don't push or really, promote necessarily vegan or vegetarian, although I am, but I say that those things are about what you're eliminating, and I am all about what we need to include. We need to include more. This is about abundance. More whole grains, more beans and legumes, more fruits and vegetables, lots and lots of leafy greens. That's what I'm telling you to eat more of. The other stuff, you can kind of, decide where you want to go with that, but we just need to eat more plant foods. So that's what I'm here to do, is to encourage you and inspire you to eat more plant foods. And I'm going to show you, I've got 4 recipes tonight. We're doing a Mexican corn salad, raw corn salad with tomato and avocado. It is kind of a Mexican salad. And then a 4-layer bean dip, and Popeyes Tacos, and some Choco Nana ice cream. Okay, we're going to start off with our 4-layer bean dip. And you don't need a food processor for this, but it makes it much easier and better. Let me grab my gloves. So we are going to start off with, let's see, I better bring my cutting board. Well, I'll leave it right here. We're going to start off with some green onions, and they are over here. Onions are a really powerful anti-cancer food. They have organosulfur compounds that will literally seek out and destroy damaged cells in your body. And those damaged cells in your body, we create them, or it happens. Our cells get damaged every day from oxidation, from just general, being alive. It creates oxidation. Eating creates oxidation. And a good visual of oxidation is an apple when it turns brown. And our body does the same things. Our cells get damaged and not necessarily turn brown, but they get damaged and they're oxidized like that. That's why it's so important to eat antioxidants. So onions protect your body from that oxidation. And they also, anything that's, any cell that is damaged can be repaired, and there's compounds in onions that will help with that. A large European study involving 10 countries show that people who eat the most onions have the least cancers of all types. Okay, so we just put those onions right here in the food processor, and then we are going to put them in with some tomato. And I was just saying before the class started, I went to the farmer's market last Saturday and bought a bunch of tomatoes, hoping that they would hold till today, and not all of them did. I had to use quite a few of them during the week because they just started getting too soft and I didn't want to lose them. So, but I had a few left, so we are going to use some of them. Just the cooked Popeye tacos call for fresh onions, and we're going to have to use cans. So, but these are going to be fresh in our bean dip. And I'm just going to use, this one's a little bit small, so I'm going to use this one plus a few of the these small tomatoes that I have. The tomatoes, as you may know, have lycopene in them, and that protects that's a compound that does more than protect your skin, but that's one of the things that it does, is it protects your skin from DNA damage from the sun. And I find it very interesting that, when do they grow? When do tomatoes grow around here? July and August, right? June, July, August, when the sun is the most powerful and most damaging. So nature is so smart to provide us foods that protect us in that way. Okay, and then we're going to do 3 cloves of garlic, and garlic have a lot of the same compounds as the onions. Much more powerful though. Garlic's more powerful against cancer than onions are. One thing that's good, and I hardly ever do because I just don't think about it, although we're going to keep this garlic raw, is to chop the garlic before you cook it. Of course, we do that anyway. And then let it set for 10 minutes because that activates those anti-cancer compounds and converts. You have compounds in onion and garlic both, actually all foods, and when you chop them up, all the compounds in them kind of take on a synergistic effect, and they stimulate one another and they create new compounds. So we want to chop those really good, and we're going to chop it in the food processor so we don't have to spend too much time with this. It's kind of a bad spot there. All right, and then we're going to go with 2 tablespoons of lime juice. And that's about, 1 lime is about, let's see, I wonder if I had I don't know that I really need to measure this, but we will. So one lime is usually about 2 to 3 tablespoons of juice. Lemon is 3 for sure. Looks like lime's going to be about 2.5. But we're going to put 2 tablespoons of lime juice in there. And then we're going to do a tablespoon of chili powder, cumin, little dash, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And then we're just going to chop this up in the food processor. And if you've got a blender of any kind, that could possibly work as well. This Vitamix, it's got such a narrow bottom, I'm not sure I would want to try it, but I know a Blendtec is a little bit wider, and I'm sure there's other, like the Ninja, I think it's got a wider bottom too. So we're just going to pulse this briefly. This is a great dip for normal people. You know what I mean when I say normal people? I'm not normal, but I've looked for recipes that are normal, that normal people like. I've taken this to family get-togethers and they love it. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and add our beans. Beans, the magical fruit. The more you eat, the healthier you are. Beans are high in fiber that decrease inflammation in the digestive tract. They're high in complex carbohydrates. We need complex carbohydrates. Don't be afraid of carbs. We need to be afraid of refined carbs like sugar, white flour, anything that's highly processed, but we want to eat carbs in their whole food form, complex carbohydrates. They have beneficial fats. They stabilize blood sugar, or decreasing that, improving that insulin sensitivity, lower blood pressure and cholesterol. They're like 20 to 37% protein. We don't need to worry about protein, you guys, when we're eating lots of plants. In fact, you can just pretty much, if whatever you're eating, you don't have to worry about protein. We get plenty of protein. In fact, I hope you pick up a handout over there. I think it's the light green one that is the plant protein percentages in plant foods, and you'll see that there's protein in iceberg lettuce, there's protein in an apple, there's protein in everything. So we don't have to worry about protein. Let's see, 20 to 37% protein. They're filling. They help you stay full, removes cholesterol and other fats out of the body. Beans are really high in fiber. They're high in resistant starch, and that starch is really good for feeding the gut. It's really good for moving things, compounds that are harmful in your body, like cholesterol and estrogen and other hormones that your body wants to eliminate. Fiber pulls those things out. So we want to eat beans every single day. In fact, a large European study, going back to cancer, not a large European study, but some study, can't remember where it came from, but it was like a 12-year study. The first 6 years they watched the people and how much they ate of beans. Those who were getting 1 cup of beans twice a week had half the risk of colon cancer. Colon cancer is the #1 cancer killer in our country. Beans promote good bacteria. We know everybody's taken probiotics to build up their gut. Well, if you want to build up your gut, eat beans. And if you feel like you have a problem with beans, they make me gassy, I really don't like to eat them, start with just a tiny, tiny bit, because the reason they're causing that is because your gut bacteria is going, whoa, I love this, but you're putting down too many, so slow down a little bit. I mean, they're loving it. They're feeding on it, and that's what's causing that problem. They're producing a byproduct from eating those beans. We need those beans. Okay, so then we're going to add some green chilies. And this is a 1/4 cup. On your recipe sheet. It says a 1/2 cup. And that's because the regular can of diced green chilies, they're normally, I mean, you can get medium and hot probably in those as well, but the ones I usually get are mild. These are medium, the 505 brand from Costco, and they're pretty spicy. So I'm only going to put in a 1/4 cup of them. They are wonderful chilies. I love these chilies. And then we're going to go with a little bit of salt. Oh, by the way, my beans I cooked from scratch. The black beans in our Popeye Tacos are canned beans, but these I cooked from scratch. And if that's just too much for you to even think about, canned beans are wonderful. What I do when I cook them from scratch, I take the dry bean, I put it in a bowl, I cover it with water like 3 or 4 inches over because the beans will swell, and then I let them set for about 24 hours. After 24 hours, you can let them sit for 8 hours and then cook them, but the more you let them set, the more bubbly it gets on top. You dump that water down the drain, and that's reducing that gassiness that you might have a problem with. It just kind of gets rid of some of that. So the longer you let them soak like that, the better. You don't want to go much more than 24 hours. They'll start to smell funny, and then they're bad. So anyway, so I like to do my beans from scratch. Sometimes I get behind, and that's where I pull out the cans, and they work just as great too. So I need, I'm going to put in, let's see, how much salt?
Every week you make beans?
Usually on the weekend I'll make a pot of beans, and I do like a crock pot full. Like I say, I'll soak them for 24, put them in my crock pot. I've got a timer on my crock pot. I'll set it for 8 hours. They cook all day while I'm at work or when I'm gone. I don't have to watch them. They're super simple to make. I mean, I add nothing to them, huh? I don't. I mean, I've got a bean mix that I could do, but I actually haven't gotten into those yet. I'll probably do that for soups during the winter. They're fairly new that I have. But yeah, I just cook them in the crock pot. They're super easy, and then I dish them out into individual containers and put them in my freezer. And there you go. You just got to remember to pull them out ahead of time so you can use them for dinner. So, okay, so I am going to put in about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And that is it. We're going to go ahead and grind this all up. And I like to leave it a little bit chunky. I like a little texture in there, but you can grind it clear down if you want. Okay, I think that's going to be good right there. And then we're going to grab our pan. So this is a bean dip, 4-layer bean dip, actually. Where's my spatula? I can't find my spatula. I got to clean off the sides there. Okay. Hold on one sec. Grab me. Oh, there's my spatula. So we're just going to put our beans on the bottom. People who eat beans, this might sound, I mean, if you have a problem with beans, it might not sound like it would be something that could be, but people who eat beans on a regular basis show to have a slimmer waistline. That's because of the fiber and they're really good weight loss food. That's already smelling really good. We'll just go ahead and clean that down a little bit. To get the mixture off your S blade, you just give it a little spin like that, and that'll clean that off. Okay. I think what I'm going to do at this point, rather than, I want to keep the avocado fresh, or have it, when I serve it, I want it as fresh as possible. So I think we're going to just let that dip sit like that for a minute, because we're going to put a layer of avocado, layer of sour cream that I'm going to show you how to make, and then we're going to decorate it on top with some tomatoes and olives. But I'd rather not mash up the avocados quite this early. So we're going to jump over here to actually we're going to do our corn salad, our raw corn salad. So I've got some fresh corn here from the farmer's market. It's just raw. I haven't cooked it. I love to eat corn raw. It tastes so good. I feel like cooking it kind of ruins it. You know, it would probably work. I mean, it's a raw salad, so I think it would probably work fine. And I try to find corn that's organic, non-GMO. The guy at the farmer's market, I mean, he's not certified or anything, but he tells me that it's non-GMO. So, and I'm going to go ahead and put in, these are the tomatoes, the larger, smaller tomatoes that I got at the farmer's market. So they should be really good. That's a pint. I might actually go a few more of those. We'll see how it goes when we get everything in there. Okay, so we got our tomato, and we will go with some avocado right now in this. And so it's just one small avocado. Avocado is nature's butter. I use avocado in place of butter pretty much. You can even put it in cooked vegetables. I love to mash up some avocado and mix it into some steamed broccoli, steamed kale. It's amazing. I'm telling you. Oh. Or even use it as a spread to spread on your toast, avocado toast. That's kind of the new thing. Oh, let's see, I don't want to mash it. We're just going to cut it in cubes here. And I just slice it right in here in the shell. I see people peeling the avocado and it slips out of their hands. Just cut it in half, leave it in the shell, and then just score it like so. And avocado gives it such a rich, great texture. So what we're doing with this avocado is using it in place of course, a lot of people would probably use both, but I don't use oil at all, extracted oils. I use whole food fats. Whole food fats are best because the fiber is intact. When you're eating whole food fats that contain the fiber, you're slowing down the absorption of the fats into your body. So when you're eating olive oil or something, there's no fiber in there, so those fats from that olive oil, 120 calories, are going right where you don't want them. And if you're eating an avocado that's got those oils in it, then there's fiber in there, and that fiber those fats are bound to the fibers, and it decreases the transit time of those fats. In fact, the fats get into your cells much better and do what they need to do to make your skin nice and shiny, not too shiny though, and your hair nice, and just, work really good to make you healthy.
What other whole food fat is there?
What, pardon me?
What other whole food fat?
Whole food fats, nuts and seeds, avocados, olives are. There's fats in everything. Grains are a little bit higher in fats. So that's mainly what I mean, rather than olive oil, coconut oil, canola oil, those are 120 calories per tablespoon. And what they do is they coat the inner lining of your arteries and shut down this process that releases nitric oxide into your blood vessels. Nitric oxide is a powerful vascular dilator, so your blood vessels will expand to allow for more blood flow when you're out running or doing gardening and just need that extra oxygenated blood. Your arteries expand easier and they don't get stiff and build up cholesterol. So you want to stick to whole food fats if at all possible. Keep your oils to a very, very minimum. Okay, then we're gonna go with some red onion. And I'm gonna use my Vidalia Chop Wizard. You guys, I know those of you who have been here have seen me use this. This is the greatest little tool next to the blender. You can get these at Bed Bath & Beyond for about 20, well, they've gone up to about 25 now, but They are well worth it. So I'm going to do some red onion. And where did that red onion go? Right here. And we want about 1/2 cup, I believe. And of course, your red onion, it's higher in micronutrients, higher in antioxidants because of the color. You can tell your higher foods in higher in micronutrients are the most colorful ones. Slick as can be. We'll just put that right in there. And then we're going to go with 1/2 cup of cilantro. Oh, I keep getting hooked on that thing. Does anybody hate cilantro? You hate a few. Okay, I'm going to wait and put that in at the end, and I'll just divide this.
Thank you.
You are welcome. I know that can be, and it's not that you don't like it. I mean, you don't like it, but it really is. It's like nasty to you. It's like a body thing. It's like a chemical thing. Okay, so we're going to go zest and juice of 1 lime. And I've got this microplane zester that works really nicely. Citrus zest is just a great way to add flavor. Good, healthy, natural flavor. And there's nutrients in the skin. In fact, there's microbes in the skin. To feed your microbiome, your gut bacteria. There's bacteria in all plant foods. In fact, every plant food has a unique microbiome just like you. Our microbiome, our gut bacteria, is different in every single one of us, kind of like our thumbprint. And food is the same way. Every food has its different composition of microbes. And when we eat the different plant foods, we are getting a good dose of all of that. And that's what we want. And when we feed our gut well, we're feeding our immune system well. That's a good way to strengthen your immune system. And, you know, what an important time to be doing that when we're heading into fall, which is normally like cold and flu season, and we're still got that stinking virus hanging over our heads. So the best way to avoid that, it's a best way to avoid getting sick from any virus, is to feed your body well. Feed your body lots of high micronutrient things that stimulate your immune system. Good, healthy foods work much better than a mask, guarantee you. So just feed your body well. Okay, so zest and lime juice right there, and then we're going to do about 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt, or whatever salt you like to use. I encourage people to reduce their salt intake as much as you can, but I do use some. I think a little bit's okay, especially when you live in a hot climate like we do. I notice that I start getting a little bit of cramping, like in my feet, I'm pretty sure it's the sodium thing. All right, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and got that right there. And this is black pepper, and you can use fresh, but this is just regular. 1/4 teaspoon of pepper and just a pinch of cayenne pepper, and that's going to give it, of course, just a little bit of zip. I'm going to put in a few more tomatoes, these little grape tomatoes. That wasn't quite a pint, I don't think. So how many were there that couldn't do the cilantro? Just 2 of you? Okay. All right, then we will go ahead and add the cilantro. I make a drink in the morning that it's a green drink, which I thought I would never do, and somebody talked me into just trying this cucumber, celery, spinach, cilantro green drink, and I totally love it. You would think blending just spinach greens would be this thick, gooey sludge of green, right? And I tried it, and it's very watery. It's very fresh. The cilantro makes it taste great if you like cilantro, and I just love it. I have it every morning before my oatmeal. It's kind of like my coffee, except much healthier. And those greens are anti-inflammatory. In fact, all plant foods are anti-inflammatory. Unless there's plant foods that you're allergic to, and then they might be inflammatory. But greens especially are anti-inflammatory. If I've got some food sensitivity issues, and if I can feel kind of that immune response coming on that kind of is a little bit of a headache and not feeling really well, I'll down just some fresh spinach. I know that sounds weird, but I seriously, if I feel something coming on like I don't feel great, I'll just start eating a bunch of fresh spinach, and it totally takes down the inflammation. I'll make that drink. It really helps with the inflammation. It won't totally take it away, like if it's a headache, but it really helps.
Do you have a recipe for that drink?
Yeah, it's about 4 inches of celery, 4 inches of cucumber, a stalk of celery, 2 or 3 big handfuls of spinach, and a little bit of cilantro. I don't have it written down anywhere, but that's basically it. There is our corn salad. Okay, let's move over to our Popeyes Tacos. And these are Popeyes Tacos because they have Popeye's favorite food. Popeye knew back 50 years ago. I think that's when he was born, right? 50 years ago, or when he was popular. He knew what was good for him, and he ate his spinach, and he knew that it grew him some big muscles, and it totally does. It's a good source of protein and a good source of micronutrients. Green leafy vegetables are the healthiest foods on the planet, and we need to be eating lots and lots and lots of them. A little bit in your smoothie for breakfast, a little salad at lunch, and a side of broccoli with your dinner isn't quite enough. We need to base our meals on it. And so these Popeyes tacos, we're going to be adding a lot of greens to it. So I'm going to start off with my pan here and heat it up to medium-high. I like to get it good and hot. Oh, wrong one. And we're going to start off with an onion. And you can use any kind of onion you want. I like yellow onions. These are actually from the farmer's market as well. This is a really great time, by the way, to go down to Ancestor Square. There's a guy there on Saturday mornings with the farmer's market that comes down from Utah County. I think it's this week that he's going to start having some winter squashes, if you like winter squash. What an easy meal that is. I can throw one of those in the oven and have that with a side of greens and be just a happy camper. So good. Okay, I am going to use the chopper again on this, just to make things quick and easy. It's just a great tool when you're chopping a lot of vegetables, and I hope that you all will start chopping lots of vegetables. And no more tears, because you're chopping it so quick. Who has one of these? I know some of you guys that have been here before. Do you? They make the progressive chopper as well. It's a little bit nicer. It's got a few more blades, different types of blades. So, back to the oil thing. I don't have any oil on my pan. I've discovered I don't need any oil in my pan. It helps to have a decent, pretty good pan. This is a pretty good pan. What's that?
Heavy bottom.
Yes, a heavy bottom. That always helps. And while those are cooking, I'm going to go ahead and chop up some red bell pepper. Actually, we're not going to chop it. We're just going to slice it. Red bell pepper, of course, is one of our highest micronutrient foods. It's super high in vitamin C. Vitamin C is an antioxidant. In fact, red peppers are higher in vitamin C than oranges. And what time of year are red peppers, or colored peppers in general, They're ripe. They're ripe closer to the end of the summer. It takes them all summer to ripen. That's why you can only, that's why they're so expensive, the red peppers, because it takes them like, all summer to get to where they're ripe. Green peppers are unripe colored peppers. And they're much more readily available, a lot cheaper. But if you let them grow a little bit longer on the vine, they'll start to turn color, and that's when the antioxidants are being produced. That's when I like to buy them. Of course, though, when you cook a red bell pepper, you destroy a lot of that vitamin C because it's water soluble. Vitamin C is a very delicate nutrient. I like to eat raw bell peppers in my salad pretty much every day. It's got a bad spot there. This time of year, anyway. Okay, with this, I'm going to use a little bit of balsamic vinegar to saute this in, and you don't need to use anything. As you can see, nothing's really sticking at all yet. It will start to stick eventually. Maybe, I don't know, I might have really good luck tonight. But I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of flavor. I'm just going to add a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. This is great to saute in. Of course, it's a great flavor. You don't want to use too much, though, because it'll take on that kind of Italian flavor. We don't want that. This is just enough to give it a little bit of flavor. And we're going to go with 3 cloves of garlic. And of course, if you've got a garlic press, that's always great. That's just one more thing to wash, though. I prefer to just use my knife. Garlic's a great thing to boost your immune system, as well as anti-cancer compounds. It's got those antiviral, antibacterial properties that can fight infection. All right, and we've got our red bell pepper. Okay, so for the tomatoes, normally I would use fresh. Again, all my tomatoes, lots of my tomatoes went bad. And I went to the store last night and was tempted to buy some fresh ones there. They did not look very good. They just didn't have the color like the fresh ones from the farmer's market did. So I thought I'll just use canned, because the canned tomatoes are ripened on the vine and then they're cooked and canned. And I don't love to use tomatoes in a can because of the can issue, with the metals, but I will use them. I use them more during the winter and when I'm doing soups and stuff, and canned tomatoes aren't available. Okay, so I'm going to put those in a little bit later, though, since they're already cooked. I'm going to go ahead and add some mushrooms. Mushrooms have aromatase inhibitors. They keep estrogen levels low and protect women and men from prostate and breast cancer. I do. I rinse them off. Somebody saw me doing that one time, and they're like, "Why are you washing? You're not supposed to wash your mushrooms." I'm like, well, I think it's because it adds moisture, and it adds moisture to your dish, and it's like I don't know why that they, yeah.
But when you know it, they're wrong,
Yeah, you got to wash them for sure. Yeah. So some studies out of China showed that women who just ate 1 button mushroom a day cut the risk of breast cancer by 64%. So we want to get that mushroom into our diet, at least 1 mushroom every single day.
They're also great for vitamin D.
Vitamin D, yes, they are.
Yeah, I work in the medical field, and we're constantly dealing with deficiency 12 and deficient vitamin D. It's just a real problem.
Yep, they do. They are good for feeding the gut as well, bacteria. They have lots of microbes, and that's not from what they're grown in necessarily. They're just good for feeding the gut. Okay, let's see, I need to turn that up just a little bit more. All right, we're going to do also a jalapeno pepper. And again, I like to get the ripe ones, the red ones. And I'm always a little bit shy to add too much of the seeds because I don't want stuff to get too spicy. You can always add a little hot sauce at the end or whatever if you want some spice. So I am not going to add the seeds to this. Just slice that up really thin. And of course you can add more or less. I usually, if a recipe calls for, 2 or 3 seeded jalapeno peppers, I'll just put 1 with the seeds because those seeds are good. They have nutrients in them and bacteria. By the way, the condition of your gut affects all aspects of health. And one thing they're finding a lot with these days is the gut-brain connection and how it affects your mood. Depression, anxiety comes from the gut. Like 90-some% of serotonin and other neurotransmitters are produced in the gut. And how do we get a good gut? We feed it lots and lots of plants. Okay, jalapeno pepper. Then we're going to put in some cumin and chili powder. And we'll go ahead and add our tomatoes. Actually, we're going to let those mushrooms and that stuff cook just a little bit more. And I'm going to add actually some tomato juice to that. It's getting a little bit dry. So instead of adding water, we're going to add that tomato juice. Nice benefit of using canned tomatoes. Okay, I'm just going to let that cook for just a minute. I'm going to start mashing up some avocados. Get a bowl here. And our recipe calls for two avocados. We're going to put about 4 in here. We're doing this for our bean dip. We need to get healthy fats into our diet. We don't need to be afraid of fats. There was back in the day when I was in my exercise mode and doing all the exercise and not really worrying too much about my diet, what I did worry about was something that I shouldn't worry about, and that was the amount of fats. Although I shouldn't say we shouldn't worry about that. We need to think about that. We need to be careful about the amount of fats that we get into our diet. We don't want to get too many because the fats you eat are the fats you wear. And so we want to be careful, but I was not eating any nuts, any seeds, any avocados, and was trying to eat super low fat because I thought that's what I needed to do to lose weight. And it's helpful, but I was ignoring a lot of the other things. I was still eating sugars and, a lot of fat-free, Snackwell cookies and those kind of things, and those kind of things are not good. So when I changed my diet, actually when I went to the Fit for Life program, they encouraged the use of avocado, and I remember being afraid to add I would add just a few slices of avocado to my salad, and I was afraid that it was going to put weight on me, and I discovered that it really didn't, and it's because I was eating really healthy. I was eating a lot of healthy foods, healthy salads and lots of fruits and lots of vegetables. Well, what I do is I grab a hold of it and I just squeeze. I mean, if you want one that's ripe, and you find like a black one, let's see if it's ripe. You want to grab the whole thing and just give it a little squeeze, and if you can feel the pit move on the inside, it's ripe. You don't want an avocado that's got dents in it and that feels like it's kind of mushy. What I like to do, because then I'm assured that it's going to be good for the most part, is I like to buy them hard, green, and then these are all really good avocados. I can't believe I'm getting so lucky tonight. And then let them sit on the counter, And then I just, I can just kind of look at them and I can just kind of tell without squeezing them. I kind of hate to squeeze them because you can bruise them, but you can kind of tell that they just look like they're getting softer. I don't know, it's kind of, I guess it's just something you got to kind of practice with, but you can squeeze them to see if they're ripe. And then I'll put them in the refrigerator and they'll keep for 3 or 4 or 5 days even. I mean, they'll keep for a while. Okay, actually we're gonna move back over here. I don't wanna cook this stuff too much. I just wanted to get those onions, those mushrooms cooked down. Okay, then we're gonna go ahead and add our tomatoes. And then we're gonna add our spinach. We're gonna add a whole half pound of spinach. And you can use frozen spinach that's a little bit, it's already chopped or whatever. Might be a little bit easier, but this is obviously fresh. Green leafy vegetables are high in lutein, and people with the highest levels of lutein in their blood have the cleanest arteries with no atherosclerosis, no clogging of the arteries. Lutein is also concentrated in the eyes and help with night vision. Greens, of course, are high in fiber. They're high in protein. They're high in calcium. Where does the cow get her calcium that's in her milk? She's not drinking glasses of milk. She's eating lots of greens. That's where we need to get our calcium from, leafy green vegetables. Leafy greens increase the elasticity in your arteries. Again, they produce, I don't think I actually mentioned this, I talked about oil and how it shuts down nitric oxide production. Leafy greens activate nitric oxide production, that gas that helps to keep your arteries flexible. It's released into the blood vessels through endothelial cells. Green leafy vegetables activate that. Green leafy vegetables feed your immune system. If you want a strong immune system, eat lots of leafy green vegetables. Greens are high in folate. Women are told to take folic acid when they're pregnant. What if we were to eat folate in green leafy vegetables? Would we need to take that supplement? Folic acid has been shown to increase risk of liver cancer. Folate in foods decreases cancer. And that one thing wonderful about spinach, I do so much kale. I like collards as well and cabbage, but they take a little bit longer to cook. In fact, tonight, I'll tell you what I had for dinner, but spinach takes just a few minutes to cook. And so that's really great. So tonight, I didn't have very much time. I was getting all my stuff together, but I needed to get a little something to eat in me. So I just steamed up a big old handful. It was my pan. I just filled it up with spinach, just steamed it till it went down. And then I threw in some rice that I had already cooked, put in a little salsa, stirred it all up. Oh, so good. So simple, so good. I mean, it took no time at all to make. I've done that with kale too, but again, kale takes a little bit longer to cook. But just a simple greens and grains with a little bit of, I love salsa. I love Mexican food. I put salsa on everything. Okay, that is looking so yummy. And then we're gonna go ahead and add our black beans. We're gonna go about 3 cups, I think. I kind of was hesitant to go a little bit less on the beans just because we've got lots of beans in that. I don't want you guys to go home with too much, too much beans going on. I don't think we're gonna put all those in there. Okay, let's see if we've got everything in there, and we're gonna go with a little bit of lime juice. But I think I'll wait and put that in a little bit later. And we're gonna put the lid on that and actually just turn that down really low just to keep it warm. I'll finish this avocado and we'll move over to our dip. And we're going to add a little bit of lime juice to this. Actually, we're going to use that half a lemon right there. And maybe the lime that's right here, the rest of the lime. Ooh, not much left in that one. When I do guacamole, I just do avocado, a little bit of citrus juice, and that's about it. Just super simple. I don't even really put much salt in it. So good. And of course, another great example of an antioxidant effect is the citrus juice, which is high in antioxidants. Added to your avocado is going to keep the avocado from going brown. Not forever, though, unfortunately. Okay. So we're going to move over here to our to our blender, and we're going to do some sour cream. And this is a seed-based sour cream because we want to get away from dairy products as much as we can. Dairy products are super high in hormones, growth-stimulating hormones, because what is that milk from that cow made to do? It's made by nature to grow a baby cow to be a full-grown 800,000-pound cow. That's a lot of growth hormones that we're taking in if we drink that milk. We don't want to grow, and we especially don't want to grow cancer cells, which is what it does. If you read the China study, it talks about how they showed how you can turn on and turn off tumor growth by changing the level of protein in the diet. And that protein was dairy protein, casein. By just lowering that below 10%, the cancer cells stopped growing. They raised it above 10%, the cancer cells started growing. So we want to do what we can to get rid of that or greatly reduce our dairy protein. Okay, so we're going to make a seed sour cream, and this is raw sunflower seeds. Sunflower seeds are super high in protein. In fact, all seeds are a really great source of protein. They're higher than your nuts. And we're going to go 6 tablespoons of lemon juice. And like I said at the first, there's about 3 tablespoons in each lemon. So we're just going to go 2 lemons. It's a great way to make creamy sauces with blending nuts. I like to do cashews to make like creamy soups. Sunflower seeds work really well too. The squeezer is just a little bit small. I brought mine somewhere. This thing helps you get big muscles too.
So how many, about 1 cup of seeds or what?
Yes, 1 cup of sunflower seeds. Yeah, this should be on your recipe sheet. It'll be on your second page.
Oh, on the back.
Yeah, or on the back, not second page. Okay, then we have, we have our seasoning. So a 1/2 cup or 1½ teaspoons of onion powder, teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I believe when we want 1 cup of water. So I'm just going to fill up my little plastic thing here. And I like to start off with less water because this thing will kind of jump if it's too liquidy. So I'm just going to put in about half that water. And these seeds, all this is going to miraculously turn into a white, creamy, sour cream looking stuff. I didn't feel like I got really all the lemon juice out of those because they were so, this thing is a little bit small and those lemons were kind of big, so I'm going to try to get just a little bit more lemon juice out of that. And I am.
It says it needed to soak the seeds. How do you know they're needed?
Okay, so that is if you don't have a real strong blender like a Vitamix or Blendtec, that's going to help. I'm glad you brought that up because I often will remember to say something about that. But yes, if you need to soak them, that will help. Although you're not going to get it, you won't get the creaminess that you would if you have a real strong, good blender. And I was going to talk about that for just a second. This is a major appliance. It's about the cost of a major appliance as well. A blender like that's a little over $300, but I've had this blender for 20 years. And the same base, have never done a thing to this. I do switch out this container because it gets really nasty looking. It gets kind of brown and gross. So I do buy those every, 6 or 8 years or whatever. I use mine a ton. But it's a major appliance. I use it more than any other appliance in my house probably. Washer and dryer, stove, I use it every day. I don't know anybody who has one that says I don't like it. It's a great, in fact, I went through a couple different, I had a KitchenAid, which is a great blender, but I went through a couple of, cheaper models, more affordable, until I finally broke down and bought one at Costco. And I took it home and I was in love right from the start because it did such an amazing job. Okay, so we are going to see if this will spread. I'm going to kind of just go around in the center first. Usually I kind of, I do it in a round thing, and I'll kind of do some sour cream. I'll do sour cream over the whole thing and then just splotch the avocado around on top. But I think I don't know if that made any sense at all. I think I'll just mainly do this in the center and put I don't know. I think I'll have enough to go clear around. That needs to be turned off. Yes. All right, and then we are going to put the sour cream on top. And this is the one that and it's pretty thin. Now this will set up after, if you were to put this cream in the fridge, it would set up and to where you could spread it kind of like mayonnaise, or more like sour cream, I guess. Okay. So, and then on top of that, we're going to take some of these cherry tomatoes and just lay them around to make it look pretty, because making things look nice is half the battle, right? If it looks good, it'll taste good.
Wouldn't it be nice to have a sous chef?
You know what, I often do. Most of the time I do, but I told her, I'm like, she has new puppies. And so she says, I can do it. I always love coming, and I love helping out, and they're always fun. But I told her I only had like 7 people, and she's like, I told her, I says, I probably don't really need you tonight. So, but yeah, it is nice to have her, especially to do my dishes. When class is done, my dishes are done. Yeah, I actually don't mind. It's a little bit therapeutic, I think, for me to cut and chop. Okay, we're just gonna put all those on. Okay, and I guess you could like slice the few avocado. I need a little green on top. That's what I need. Okay, so there's our bean dip. So yummy. You guys will get to try. Oh, I wanted to introduce you to nutritional yeast if you're not familiar with it. This is kind of a cheesy flavoring, and what I do a cheese sauce with basically this same recipe, and then I'll add nutritional yeast to it along with a red bell pepper, which makes it orange, so it looks kind of cheesy. Some people don't love it. Most people really like it. It has a tendency to trigger headaches if you're susceptible. And so anyway, I just brought that along. It's in a little shaker container. You're welcome to sprinkle some of that on top of whatever you want to sprinkle it on top of. Okay, let's take a look at we're going to add a little bit of lime juice to this. I like to even add a little bit, because I try to cut back on salt a little bit, but I like to even add a little bit of vinegar to this kind of thing. Just adds a little bit of a nice flavor without not adding too much. You don't want it to taste vinegary necessarily. It just gives a little bit of a punch. That looks so good. Okay. So what I'm going to do with these tonight is I wanted to do some tacos, some of these small tacos, and what I'm going to do is you can do a hard, so the chips that I made, back up, the chips that I made are, for the dip, are these corn tortillas. They're organic corn, and I've quartered them, placed them on a cookie sheet, baked them about 275. They get nice and crunchy, and you can use them for a dip. Super healthy. There's no oils in here. Totally low fat. You could totally eat this whole bowl. Probably not the whole thing a dip, but anyway, super good, super healthy. But I'm using these same ones, and I'm just going to heat them, steam them on the stove as you guys come up. And so you'll have a nice freshly steamed, and I don't like to fry them in oil like we used to do back in the day, right? Or you could just place, this is what I've done before for classes where I have a lot of people, is I place like this whole thing in the oven and get it crispy like those, and then just use it kind of like a tostado. So we could do it that way as well. So let me just really quick do the banana ice cream. So you can do a nut based where I use cashews. I blend cashews and dates with some water, and it makes a nice sweet cream. And you can add cocoa powder or fruit or anything to make it a different flavor. But that's pretty high fat because you're using the nuts. So tonight I'm going to do this nice cream. And so we're going to grab our frozen bananas out of the freezer here. This is super, super easy. And I have to tell you, I'm the original nice cream girl. I was making nice cream before nice cream was nice cream. Back like 20 years ago, my daughter was like 13 years old, and I discovered that I could grind up frozen bananas into an ice cream consistency, add some cocoa powder, and make really yummy ice cream. Totally low-fat ice cream. You're going to be amazed at this as well if you haven't tried it before. Move that over. And you can add a little bit of water. I will probably do that. And I know a lot of recipes I see call for a nut milk, but I've never used a nut-based milk before in my ice cream, banana ice cream. So it's just bananas. Now this takes a little bit of work, just a little bit of pulsing and work to get it all ground down. I might have to add a few more bananas actually. I want to have plenty for you guys. And you have to stop it once in a while as well. I've seen people do this in a champion juicer, not this, but make this kind of ice cream in a champion juicer. If you're familiar with a champion juicer, it's got a little cover that you put over the blade where it chops up and separates the juice from the fiber, and it'll just come out the other end as the frozen ice cream. Probably didn't make any sense at all. Like I said, you just got to work with it. Okay, so The frozen bananas, I take my dark, my spotted, you want to do spotted bananas. They make a better ice cream, a little bit better of the ice cream than if they're not very spotted, because when they're spotted, they're more sugary. There's more sugar. So I just take my spotted bananas and I slice them up, like so, and I fill my bag, not fill it all the way, and then I shut it, leave it open just a little bit, and I lay it on the counter and press it out like so and get them to where they're laying flat, so they're kind of separated. Freeze it like that, and then when they're frozen, I can just cook them up and kind of crunch them together, break them apart, and it's easy, like that. If you just freeze them in a big clump in your bag, they're going to kind of all stick together. Okay, oh, you can see that ice cream starting to form in the bottom of our food processor. That's why we kind of have to work with it, kind of have to stir it, mix it around.
How long do you keep those in the freezer? Or do you have to freeze more than necessary?
They'll keep pretty good for a few weeks. They start to get a little bit brown. Here we go. It's a little bit easier when there's not as much in here. Okay, at this point, I think I'll probably go ahead and add our cocoa powder. I'll grind it just a little bit more, because we're doing chocolate tonight. Although vanilla is really great as well. We are going to add a little bit of vanilla. And some cocoa powder. Let's see. We don't want it to taste like balsamic vinegar. Okay, so we're going to go about 4 tablespoons of cocoa powder. We might actually go a little bit more, because this is probably more than what. And you can, of course, make it as chocolatey as you want. That's kind of got the swirly look going here. Oh, that's looking so good, you guys. The problem is, you feel like you can eat so much of it because it's just bananas, right? But try eating like 4 bananas worth of ice cream and it's like, oh. Okay, that's all it is. I'm gonna, because we're not gonna have it right now, it does melt fairly quickly. So I'm just gonna put this in the freezer and it'll hold up pretty good until we're ready to have it. In fact, it'll firm up just even a little bit more. Isn't that amazing? And wait till you taste it.